The scene starts with her sitting at a desk, focused, with a computer in front of her and papers scattered around. Her headphones are on, and she begins to speak into the microphone. Her voice is calm but engaging. "All right, everyone, let's settle in. I've got a story for you that might sound a little odd, but trust me, it's definitely worth hearing. Picture this. It's a normal day at the office, or so it seems. Just another afternoon, right? But then, well, let me tell you what happened. It all started in a small, somewhat old research office. We were a pretty quiet team, just the usual faces, working late like always. Papers, files, and our computers all lined up in a neat, orderly fashion until something unexpected happened. The system went down. Just like that, out of nowhere. At first, we thought it was a minor glitch, a little hiccup. No big deal, right? I mean, these things happen, especially when you're dealing with tech that's been in use for years. But soon, it became clear that this was more than just a hiccup. The system crashed completely. Emails went missing, data was scrambled, and the whole office descended into chaos. We tried to fix it ourselves at first, panicking as we watched the clock tick by. Every attempt to recover the files was in vain, and we couldn't even get the network to reconnect. I remember looking around, seeing everyone rushing from one desk to another, desperate to find any solution. There was the sound of frantic typing, people yelling over the cubicle walls, and the general feeling of something slipping out of control. I sat there at my desk, frozen for a moment, unsure of what to do. How do you fix something this big when you don't even understand why it happened? People were losing their minds, but I tried to stay calm. I grabbed my phone, called the IT department, and, of course, they were completely overwhelmed. They had no idea what was going on either. "We'll get back to you as soon as we can," they said. That was the last thing I wanted to hear. It felt like everything we'd worked for, everything we'd built, was crumbling right in front of us. Time started moving slower. Hours passed, or maybe it was just minutes, but it felt like forever. By this point, we had all gathered in the break room, trying to figure out what happened. No one knew. It was just one of those things. No explanation, no reason, just a disaster. People were speculating wildly, blaming everything from the server upgrades to faulty wiring. And, of course, the one thing that became the scapegoat, the new software update. But then, something strange happened. As I sat there listening to all the theories, I noticed that the situation started to shift. It wasn't just about fixing the problem anymore. It was about finding out how this could have happened, and who was responsible. You know, that moment when the panic subsides, and curiosity takes over? We decided to trace it back, to track every action taken in the system leading up to the crash. And here's the twist, it wasn't any one thing that caused the disaster. It was the combination of a lot of little things, a chain reaction. A forgotten password. A server that hadn't been updated in months. A file that never synced properly. It all piled up, and boom. A system failure. It was like the perfect storm of technology errors. It felt almost like something out of a movie, like we were in a disaster scenario, trying to save the day with nothing but our wits and determination. It was chaotic, but it was also kind of exhilarating, if I'm being honest. In the end, we fixed it. We didn't restore everything, of course. Some files were lost for good. But we learned a valuable lesson: don't take anything for granted. Not your system, not your passwords, and certainly not your ability to handle a crisis. It's funny how quickly things can spiral out of control when the foundation is weak. I guess that's the moral of the story: if there is one, everything is connected. A small oversight can lead to big problems, but if you have the right team and a bit of persistence, you can get through it. Just make sure to stay calm, even when everything seems to be falling apart. She leans back in her chair, taking a small pause before finishing the story. Anyway, that's my story. It might not be a grand tale, but it's one I won't forget anytime soon. And, honestly, it's one I think we could all learn from. Now, back to work, right? She smiles softly, takes off her headphones, and gets back to her tasks, but not before sharing a glance with the people around her, who are all smiling at the end of the story.